Good evening and welcome to day 19 of Panchakarma. As of tomorrow, we will be at our halfway point already. And I've been having some of you drop in with me with comments. I'm hearing about the shifts you're feeling already, the changes you've been making in your life, and how that's having an effect on the way that you're feeling, the way you're approaching different situations in your life. And it's really cool to just hear about your progress and hear about your growth process, what you're discovering, how it's opening you up. And so I hope that you are taking a moment on this full moon to just really honor yourself for showing up and doing this work, because it does take commitment. It takes commitment, it takes dedication, willingness to go there, willingness to hold the space for sometimes what isn't always easy stuff to look at, but you're doing it, and that's just such a beautiful thing. So really drink in that lunar essence tonight as that moon grows nice and full, and just let it shine its light down on you and give you a little bit of that cooling, lunar essence to come in and give that softening and silkening, to everything that you've been processing that at times may have felt a little rough. 1:33 on the clock, new beginnings, new beginnings. You got a lot of help around you. You got help from me. I'm here to support you. And I hope that also, as you all start getting to know each other on the comments, you can start to build a sense of community around this. And yeah, I just think it's really cool. And so, that support's there. The support is there. I feel like the support is front and center, especially tonight. I feel like, all of our spiritual aid is close at hand. I'm really feeling this energy. It's an interesting energy, because to me it feels very similar to how it feels around Samhain. It feels like that the veil is like a little thinner, and I find that so curious, I guess, is the best way to describe that. Curious. I'm ready to go out with my fetch, Ted, and just explore in the dark a bit. I want to lean into the energy. I want to, dive into some other readings tonight, but I wanted to do my check-in with my Panchakarma people and just see how you all are doing. You're really in the thick of it now, and I hope you're planning a lovely ritual for this evening, and getting your bath together, whether you take that bath later, tonight, or you take it tomorrow to kind of close your experience of the deep purification on Sunday. After we get through this phase of deep purification, our next focus is really going to be on digestion, getting our digestion super dialed in and bringing in all kinds of supportive practices around that. And then, we finish up the last 10-day cycle with really yummy stuff. It's all about getting deeply nourished and nurtured. And for those of you who maybe didn't get to do the deep purification yet, you haven't done the deep dive for the 3 days, don't worry. You know what? You can always use this time to kind of catch up. If you're, just coming to these Panchakarma videos and you're starting at the beginning, you can use the time to catch up. And then when we hit that fall equinox, you can do a round of that 3-day deep purification. Be perfect. It's right in harmony with the change of the seasons. It's traditionally when we would do Panchakarma in Ayurveda. So, feel free to do that. Likewise, if you did dive into this 3 days of deep purification and you feel like, what? I feel like I got more to move. I feel like I could do another round. Or maybe you didn't go all in this time. Maybe you made a lot of changes, but you feel like, I think I could have taken it to the next level. Maybe give yourself the opportunity to go another 3 days at the fall equinox. So that is something that is always a possibility. In fact, I think I'm probably going to do that. I really like to enter the winter season just feeling like I got a clean slate, like I followed through. And I found that in doing this, I have not gotten sick for like almost 4 years now. Almost 4 years now. Not so much as a cold, which is really impressive. And it has everything to do with that. It has everything to do with really getting on this kind of panchakarma life where this is just the way I move through my day. I always have these practices, moving my lymph and doing steam inhalations and scraping the tongue and kind of seeing what's going on with my tongue and making the teas, and in general, eating pretty close to the earth. I do like to have some treats, and I listen to my body when it comes to food. I'm not somebody who's into dieting or any of that, not with my history. And I've really overcome a lot with that. And I'm at this stage in my life where I can't force my body into a fit. You know what I'm saying? I have to just really love and respect my body where it's at. And I'm actually feeling really good about that. I have a really healthy, positive relationship with my body. I'm really so happy to say that because it wasn't always the case. I used to really be at war with my body, but it has everything to do with the fact that I've gotten to this place of really deeply loving my body and all it's done for me, and how it's still stayed so strong after all I used to put it through. And it really just makes me feel like loving up on my body even more. It's fun to have treats, now and then, but in general, I really do prefer to give my body, really good, yummy, tasty, but also deeply nourishing food. For me, food has gone beyond just something that fills the belly. It's also been about what leaves me with a feeling of real vitality when I'm done with that meal. What gives me happy tummy, what has me kind of dancing at the table when I'm eating it. I have so much pleasure around food now, and I have all this pleasure, and yet I'm eating better than I ever have, and tastier foods than I ever have. And yeah, I'm just in a really balanced, good place with it, and it feels so wonderful. So this has just kind of become my life as I've traveled along in my journey as an Ayurvedic practitioner, and also applying the methods to myself. And one of my big goals is to really get on a very solid yoga practice. It's something that's really important to me, and I'm currently going through a teacher training program through a school out of India, Yogi Bakshala, and they have a sister studio in the United States, Yoga Mu, and I'm going through them, and it's been really cool because all of the videos are taught by the teachers in India, and they go over more Ayurveda, and so it's just been so cool to kind of really tap into those roots. And it made me think back to when I had a really solid yoga practice, and I read the Yoga Aphorisms of Patanjali, and it absolutely changed my life. This book right here, How to Know God. And it's a book all about yoga, okay? And yoga as a whole practice, because often here in the West, we think of yoga as asanas, these postures, or maybe you think about that cute Lululemon outfit or yoga booty, but that's really like so far from the roots of yoga. And yoga isn't about any of that posturing. It's not about any of this competitiveness or anything of this nature. And I have several yoga teachers that I just absolutely love. I've always loved Brian Kest, who does Ashtanga yoga. Love Baron Baptiste and his style of power yoga, and also his cues, and just the way he guides you is so on the mark, so on the point. in a way that it just really helps you understand um, a deeper layer of what it means to let go, I guess would be the best way to describe his teaching style. And he's so laid back, he's laid back at the same time. And I love Adrienne, she's great. I love that she's so quirky and she's so real, and all of her different yoga routines, they have, fun names that help you really tap into the energy of exactly what that yoga session is all about. And when you are feeling like a zombie, if you do her yoga for when you're feeling like a zombie, it's gonna hit the mark. It's gonna be exactly what you need. So I love working with other teachers, and I also just love to get on the mat and go off and just explore, let my body go into spontaneous asanas. And so this book, I haven't read this book in a really, really long time. And I want to start, doing more inspirational reading as part of my morning dinacharya. And so I decided I think I'm going to read this book again. It's been so long. I haven't read it since I was like 21 years old. It was a long, long time ago, okay? So I thought it would be really interesting in the spirit of this full moon, which is really about cleansing and purification and healing and sort of closing, cycles to step into the new chapter and begin that fool's journey once again. I thought it would be kind of cool if we did a little bibliomancy with this book and just see what kind of yogic philosophy wants to come forward to guide us as we travel through this phase that will come after the full moon, when we head into that waning phase, when the moon becomes more dark and we have a period of turning within, also with everything moving retrograde. We did have Mercury go retrograde today in the sign of Libra. All right. So, it was really about that window of time from Virgo new moon till this full moon here was when we needed to be planting our seeds, because we are about to head into the interesting period of this whole lunar cycle when it's going to be an interesting ride. It's going to be an interesting ride. And I do encourage you, wherever you can find pockets, to call forward that philosophical view, and also just to get some rest and have time to reflect. So, you don't get into a pattern of reactiveness. It's going to be kind of an easy environment to get reactive. I don't know if you've been sensing that already. I've kind of picked it up in the collective and just being out and about and seeing how people are interacting with each other. So be live to that. But I thought it might be kind of nice if we had something that could almost serve as a meditation point or a focal point or some kind of guidance for us as we enter this cycle. So we're going to bring this in. And we're just going to ask Spirit to guide us, those of us who are journeying through Panchakarma, and even those of us who are tuning in to these Panchakarma readings and maybe are just exploring and haven't decided to dive in yet. Let's just also let this hold space for those who are curious, those who are seeking, those who are wanting to know about Ayurveda, about the path of yoga and what it has to offer. Spirit, please give us guidance in what we need to know at this time as we move through this Pisces full moon and the dark moon cycle that will come after. What should be our focus at this time? How should we place our attention? What guidance do you have for us that can allow us to be freed of our old attachments, shed our old skins, and be prepared to step into the expansion of the new cycle? We got number 50, which is interesting, okay? This is divided into sections, okay? They have the book divided into sections. They're like each highlight points, okay? And we got number 50. And 5 is all about change, okay? It's about change that happens quickly, change that happens unexpectedly, change that happens suddenly. And with it coming in with that 0, that's all about change that also brings us back to the starting point. It's when we have completed a full cycle. And so now we begin again at that 0 point, that fool's journey, when we step onto a new road and a new way with new experiences, new tests, new challenges, new growth opportunities opens up before us. And with it also comes gifts, because with that 0 energy, 0 is a number all about not only the starting point, but spiritual gifts that come through this new beginning. It's the pursuit of this journey that will pose us the challenges and the growth opportunities that bring us a very sweet reward on the other side. That's what it means to go on the fool's journey. You never quest without there being challenges. It's just the way it is. And so I think that's a good way to kind of frame it right now is, we're wrapping up the old story and we're about to go questing again. And so before I even read this, I don't even know what this one is about, but I'm picking up this energy, so I'm going to speak to it because I'm so curious to hear how the passage relates to what's funneling through for me right now. But I'm really picking up this energy about using the time tonight when it's still, because that moon is going to be growing full in the small hours. And in the small hours, the world gets a lot more quiet, right? It's like those more subtle vibrations come forward. And I feel like it's really about tapping into that more subtle current and feeling into it, feeling into what are you questing for? What are you questing for when that new moon in Libra comes on the 25th? What are you questing for? If you dropped into your soul's essence and you just leaned into how you're feeling right now and what your hopes are, what your dreams are, what you long for, what you feel has been missing, what you feel excited about, what you feel drawn toward, what feels like resonance. And if you had to think of just one word that would capture the essence of that thing, that quality that you're seeking, what would it be? And let that be symbolic of what you're questing for. There's something about getting in touch with this. What are you questing for? It's the fuel behind what will power you forward on the new road. 18:10 on the clock when I said that. 9:10, okay? The ending brings the new beginning, and so I feel like, the most important steps you take on your journey are those first few steps and the intention that's behind them. Because when times get challenging, as they inevitably will, it's so essential to remember why you started in the first place. And if you can remember why you started, then everything just flows so much more smoothly. So much more smoothly. And then you can really appreciate your travels, You're not so stuck on the destination, but you're really appreciating the scenery along the way and the way that also enriches your life. So let's see what this has to say. The breath may be stopped externally or internally, or checked in mid-motion and regulated according to place, time, and a fixed number of moments, so that the stoppage is either protracted or brief. As we have seen, prana means the vital energy by which we live. Because this energy is renewed by breathing, prana may sometimes be translated as breath, but the word has a much broader reference for all the powers of the body, and all the functions of the senses and the mind are regarded as expressions of the force of prana. To quote the Prasna Upanishad, then Bhargava approached the teacher and asked, "Holy sir, how many several powers hold together this body? Which of them are most manifest in it, and which is the greatest?" "The powers," replied the sage, "are ether, air, fire, water, earth, these being the 5 elements which compose the body. And besides these, speech, mind, eye, ear, and the rest of the sense organs. Once these powers made the boastful assertion, 'We hold the body together and support it,' whereupon prana, the primal energy, supreme over them all, said to them, 'Do not deceive yourselves. It is I alone, dividing myself 5-fold, who hold together this body and support it.' But they would not believe him. Prana, to justify himself, made as if he intended to leave the body. But as he rose and appeared to be going, all the rest realized that if he went, they also would have to depart with him. And as Prana again seated himself, the rest found their respective places. As bees go out when their queen goes out, and return when she returns, so was it with speech, mind, vision, hearing, and the rest. Convinced of their error, the powers now praised Prana, saying, 'As fire, Prana burns; as the sun, he shines; as cloud, he reigns; as Indra, he rules the gods; as wind, he blows; as the moon, he nourishes all. He is that which is visible and also that which is invisible. He is immortal life.' According to the physiology of Raja Yoga, a huge reserve of spiritual energy is situated at the base of the spine. This reserve of energy is known as the Kundalini, that which is coiled up. Hence, it is sometimes referred to as the serpent power. When the Kundalini is aroused, it is said to travel up the spine through 6 centers of consciousness, reaching the 7th, the center of the brain. As it reaches the higher centers, it produces various degrees of enlightenment. The process is best explained in the words of Ramakrishna. The scriptures speak of 7 centers of consciousness. The mind may dwell in one or the other of the centers. When the mind is attached to worldliness, it dwells in the 3 lower centers, at the navel, the organ of the reproduction, and the organ of evacuation. The mind then has no higher spiritual ambitions or visions." Ooh, right in alignment with that quest, man. It is immersed in the cravings of lust and greed. The 4th center is at the heart. When the mind learns to dwell there, man experiences his first spiritual awakening. Then he has the vision of light all around. Seeing this divine light, he becomes filled with wonder and says, "Ah, how blissful!" His mind does not then run to the lower centers. The 5th center is at the throat. He whose mind has reached this center is freed from ignorance and delusion. He does not enjoy hearing or talking anything but God. The 6th center is at the forehead. When the mind reaches this center, there is the direct vision of God day and night. Even then, there is a little trace of ego left in the aspirant. It is like a light in a lantern. One feels as if one could touch the light, but cannot because of the obstructing pane of glass. The 7th center is at the top of the head. When the mind reaches it, samadhi is attained. One becomes known as knower of Brahman, united with Brahman. The study of Raja Yoga should be very helpful to those whose minds have been warped by a conventional Puritan upbringing. Whoo! And we've been talking about doing that generational healing, that ancestral healing. The danger of Puritanism is that it inclines us to regard certain functions and powers of the body as evil and other functions and powers as good, without seeing any relation between the 2 groups. Raja Yoga reminds us that the mind-body has only one life force. This force expresses itself in different ways at different levels of consciousness. It may impel a person to paint a picture, run a race, have sexual intercourse, or say his prayers. but it is always the same force no matter where it takes you, just as in the department store, the same elevator takes you to the women's hats, the sports department, the furniture, and the restaurant on the roof. Some people who have read and misunderstood Freud are apt to say sneeringly, religion is nothing but repressed sex, and this remark is supposed to shock us into giving up religion in disgust. But it would not have shocked Patanjali in the least, though he might have laughed at its stupidity. Sex, he would have retorted, is nothing but potential religion. Yes. Yes, Patanjali. Use the same energy for a higher purpose and you will obtain enlightenment. That's what I'm talking about. Bring some of that good juju in, man. According to Raja Yoga, the spinal column contains two new nerve currents, Ida on the left and Pingala on the right, and a central passage which is called the Sushumna. When the Kundalini is roused, it passes up the Sushumna, which in normally unspiritual persons remains closed. In speaking of the centers of the navel, heart, throat, etc., Ramakrishna is using physical terms to give the approximate positions of the centers, which are actually situated within the Sushumna itself. These centers are often called lotuses. Oh my goodness, in yogic literature, because they are said to appear in the form of a lotus to those whose spiritual vision enables them to see them. Vivekananda suggests that we may think of them as corresponding to the various plexuses of Western physiology. As we have seen, yoga physiology makes no absolute distinction between gross and subtle matter. It is all a question of degree. It goes on quite a ways, but it's very interesting because we did get that message again from the White Light Oracle about the 7 blessings of Eve, and I posted that 7 jewels of Eve, waking Lilith meditation in this Panchakarma series, and it utilizes this lotus imagery and the Kundalini imagery, that particular meditation that I created and that I recorded for you all. 27 on the clock when I said that, okay? That's triple nines, okay? 2 and 7 is 9, twice, 9 twice is, again, 18, 9, okay? Big 9 energy, it's like the spiritual download coming through, and there's something about this working with that meditation, getting in touch with the breath. I think that it's going to clear something out of the energy body for you that's really going to allow you to align with your purpose as you go through this deep purification, tonight and tomorrow, to close out this phase of our Panchakarma experience before we head into the next cycle. And I think that there's going to be something that comes through, something that gets illuminated for you that aligns you with your quest and that vision, the vision that gets pulled down from that ether and manifests through you now that the way will be clear. And it was 28 on the clock when I said that. 10, okay, 10. And big alignment energy, 10 and 10. We got that 20, that's 2, alignment with spirit, blessed new cycle, brings special gifts. Really dig in this energy that is coming forward tonight. So I feel like that's the download for those of you on Panchakarma tonight. And I'm noticing all the numerological, synchronicities, 29, while I'm talking to you. So we got big 11 energy, big alignment energy coming in. Things are about to change, we're about to head through that, that pipeline, we're riding that wave, we're surfing it, and we're about to go through the pipeline. We pop out the other side of this lunar cycle, things are going to look really different. And it's so beautiful that you're doing this Panchakarma work while we're going through it, because it's just going to allow you to step into this next stage of your life so much more clear and clean and free. And I wish you such beautiful blessings during this time of deep, deep drop in and healing. See you on the other side.